Her pace was so swift, onlookers expected to see some wild animal, jaws gnashing, teeth bared, on her heels. To her, the pace was irrelevant. She only wanted to move. Whether she was prey or predator did not enter into her clear-headed state of mind.
I've described the way that I create characters for my writing back in a previous session, but for those listeners that missed it, I'll summarize it again here briefly. I basically start with a template. Maybe it's someone I know or a certain personality type that I want to portray through the character and in the story. Then I combine that with the message, theme, or role that I want the character to represent within the story. And then finally, I add individual details that I think bring the character to life, give them more personality, give them more pop, as they say, and hopefully make them a little bit more interesting to read. That's really all my process is. So when it came to my third main character, Noelani Acosta, the issues I wanted to portray through her came first. Then I built her character around the issues. So the result was a character whose flaws can sometimes eclipse her more endearing qualities. I've been told that, from people who've read the book already, that, yeah, she's kind of hard to love, right? Which this isn't in and of itself isn't a bad thing, because the flaws, like most authors, the flaws serve a purpose. They're there for a reason. And that purpose becomes clearer, I hope, as readers progress through the novel. So when readers are introduced to Noelani, or Noe for short, she's recently left the active duty U.S. Space Force to re-enter civilian life. And I know some of you may be listening like, oh, Space Force, how kind of cheesy, But, the Space Force wasn't a thing when I started writing this book. And the show, the popular show on Netflix, that wasn't out yet either. So I like to think that I preceded those things that made the Space Force more popular, to most Americans at least. But anyway, she's living her life, she's trying to figure out things out, minding her business, when an urgent message from her mother kicks off her story arc. And of course, this is a spoiler-free podcast, so I'm not going to say anything more about that, but yeah, that's where she starts, and that's where it starts in the beginning of the book. But I do want to talk briefly about Noe's mother, Lily, because she's just, man, whenever I read the book, she's absolutely one of my favorite characters. I think she is my favorite character in the book. Why? Well, for one reason, her personality and the scenarios that she's in are, to me, some of the most interesting in the novel. The second reason is that she was the character that was the most radically different from my personality. I mean, she's a woman. She's got this kind of boisterous personality. She can be a little sarcastic. She's kind of cynical about certain things. And yeah, that's, if you know me in real life, people that know me, that those are all like 180s from my natural personality. So as an author writing this character, it was a real challenge to get into the mindset about what does a person like this think like? What do they act like? What would they say in this scenario? And that's one of the things I like about writing, is because I can stretch myself. And like I said in my character session several sessions ago, to me, it's empathy. To me, this is how you get to understand different people and how they think and how they act and why they do certain things. So it really challenged me to bring her to life in a believable way. And it'll be up to the reader to decide if I did that justice or not. But I think when I read it and trust me, I had my wife read it too. You know, when you're writing a female character, you definitely got to get a woman's perspective. Definitely helps, and she seemed to have no qualms with the way she was written. But what I ended up with was a secondary character who adds Lily, the mother, adds a lot of color to the story and plays a pivotal role in the plot in the long run. So back to Noe. You know, she's really a product of a lot of the feelings that I went through personally when I left active duty back in, it's almost 5 years ago now. And of course, I talked a lot about that in the session when I was talking about my military experience and how it influenced the story, which of course it influenced it in a major way. But to summarize, if you haven't listened to that episode, I was lost. The old mentality that carried me through a successful military career wasn't a good fit. Well, it was okay, but it wasn't a great fit for my civilian life. And I feel like this character, Noe, has similar doubts, fears, and issues that she has to confront throughout the story. To me, she's one of the main reasons why this novel fits well into the military fiction category. Because I feel like many veterans and military members will find plenty to relate to with her character. It's very rooted in the military tradition. It's rooted in military culture. You see a lot of the scenes with her, she's dealing with those issues that a lot of military members face, or she's dealing with other characters who are in some way affiliated or were affiliated with the military. So just like I said in the other episode, I feel like even other jobs, not just military, but first responders, medical personnel, even teachers, I'm a teacher now, and these are professions that require you to consider other people before yourself. And I've talked about that a little bit about in the Rodan episode where I talked about him. That theme of sacrifice is really big in this novel. So I have it with her character as well. I'm going to be honest, writing her character was like therapy for me. It just reminded me of how angry and frustrated I was about essentially choosing to start my life over again after I left the military, just kind of a cold reset. It felt that way, and when I look back, it was pretty drastic. I moved to a completely different part of the country I'd never lived in, moved with my then girlfriend, now wife, living with somebody else, doing a new job, trying to get situated, trying to figure out what's the next step in my life. And I think when we have those major transitions, it always causes you to reflect, and that reflection could be good or it could be bad, right? And for me, it was very challenging because the military was all I knew. So trust me, ask any vet who's transitioned out. I mean, most will tell you it was just like I described, just like walking onto an alien planet with none of the familiar guideposts around to tell you what to do or where to go. And that can be a really scary thing. I know it. But after writing the character, I realized how far I had come from that place, and I'm doing much better these days. In the end, I think of the three main characters, Noe will be the one readers root for, and dare I say, maybe even shed a few tears for. At least I hope they feel for her in that emotional way. While she's not my favorite character, she's one of the primary reasons that I wrote this book. And that makes her vital not only to the plot, but one of the key conduits for imparting lessons to the readers of Cereus Limnic.
Music for the Cereus Limnic podcast was provided by Ryan Fonger. For more information about Cereus Limnic, visit keithhayden.net and subscribe, or follow at KH_author on Twitter. For future episodes, subscribe and follow the Cereus Limnic podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, as well as the Amazon Music app.
Well, folks, it's finally here. The launch of Cereus Limnic. The official launch is, as of this recording, it's tomorrow. Today is, as I'm recording this, it's January 21st, 2021. And I just want to say to those of you who have been listening to this podcast for the last, 4 or 5 months since I started it, I really want to sincerely thank you for your support of my work, of this podcast, of my story. And I hope this podcast kind of began as an extension, as a promotion of the book, but it's become a little bit more special to me than just that. And it's really a pleasure and honor to record these episodes for you, to give you more insight about, kind of my mindset that went into creating this book. And I'm so excited for you to read it. So excited, in fact, that I'm going to be offering a discount code if you purchase the ebook of Cereus Limnic from my website, keithhayden.net, and put in the promo code CLLaunch21. That's CLLaunch21. When you enter that promo code on keithhayden.net, you'll not only receive the $2 discount off of the ebook, but you'll also be able to enter the promotional giveaway that I'm having during launch week, where I'm giving away a poster, I'm giving away a free e-copy and a free print copy of the book. So go to keithhayden.net and enter that code. Once again, it's CLLaunch21 and get the discount. So I really look forward to you checking out the book, and I look forward to sharing more insights about the story in this podcast. Take care, and I'll see you next time.